What's up, guys? Stephen Bogren here, Pro Physique. Today, what I want to talk about is this. Do high-fat diets actually make you burn more fat? Does that look right? Oh, I got the hat on today. What's up, guys? So, I know that a lot of you are looking at diets, right? You're trying to figure out, how do I go with this New Year's resolution? How do I make this diet work? How do I maximize my results? And so I think one of the big things that we see out there is high-fat diets, right? No carbs. This was kind of popularized by Atkins, and so I think that it merits a little bit of attention today. So that's what we're talking about. We are going to talk about higher fat diets. We're going to talk a little bit about research and a little bit about application. So let's start about talking about higher fat diets. So when we talk about higher fat diets, what we're talking about is the percentage of calories that come from fats. Okay? So keto is going to be pretty much your one end of the spectrum, right? So in keto, we're having like 70% of our calories coming from fats, maybe 25% from proteins, and maybe like 5% from carbs, right? So lots and lots of fats. We're talking, if I was gonna go keto, probably almost 200 grams of fat a day, okay? And then we have just something like Atkins, which is just low carb, right? So we don't have just 5%, but we're very selective about our carb sources. And there's still a lot less of them, right? So it's definitely not like a normal split where you have like, let's say 35% of your calories from carbs, 35% of your calories from fat, and then 30% from protein, right? So where things are a little bit more even. At that point, we're probably doing like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15% of our calories from carbohydrates at that point. So, and here's kind of one of the main selling points of the higher fat diets that I would like to address. Because I think that, obviously, it's a little bit misleading. And I think that it confuses a lot of people because a lot of people take it out of context. And so what I want to talk about is, do higher fat diets cause you to burn more fat? So let's go with the really simple answer first, right? The super simple one-word answer. Yeah, they do. But there's a caveat to it. So here's what happens when you start eating more fats, right? Your body produces more enzymes to help use those fats and use those for energy and to digest them. So your body becomes much more efficient at that, right? That's a good thing, okay? So why do we burn more fats? And here's the simple answer. Your body's going to use the energy that you give it. So if you're giving your body a bunch of fats in your diet, you're going to burn more fats just out of hey, that's what you're eating. So duh, yes, you're going to burn more fats. But the big part about that is you're going to burn more dietary fat, right? Here's what we're looking at for when we're dieting, though. When we are dieting, we want to burn adipose tissue, stored body fat, jiggle jangle, That's what we want to burn. So, so there's a big difference between burning dietary fat and burning body fat, right? So to burn body fat, our body first and foremost has to break that fat down. This is a process called lipolysis, right? So when you have body fat, you have a triglyceride, right? So you have a glycerol back, and then you have 3 fatty acids. Lipolysis is breaking those fatty acids off of that glycerol backbone, right? So now we have these free fatty acids that we can use as energy. Then it goes into the metabolic pathways, and it does the stuff, and electron transfer. There's a Krebs cycle, and then an electron transport chain, and then we get to use it as energy, right? And then we have less body fat. Here's the thing. High-fat diets do not necessarily increase lipolysis. It doesn't necessarily increase the breakdown of body fat and usage of that as energy. What that requires is to be in a caloric deficit. What that means is you are burning more calories than you are eating. And there are a couple of things that are going to affect this. So your metabolic rate, activity level is another one, okay? And then how much activity, right? Because we obviously have diminishing returns with things as well. So like we know that if we do an excessive amount of cardio, metabolic rate is actually suppressed and it drops, okay? And we've seen that in the research. We also know that when we're in a period of caloric restriction for a long time, metabolic rate drops, which means our body adapts to being at lower calories, and now we maintain our weight at a lower calorie intake. Hence why we have to continue to make cuts throughout a dieting phase. That's why we have to continue to add cardio in throughout a dieting phase to continue initiating those changes in fat loss. So I think that what we want to understand is that high-fat diets, okay, great. They definitely increase the amount of fat that you're going to burn throughout the day. But they're going to increase the amount of dietary fat that you burn throughout the day, and that is a very important thing to understand. They are not necessarily going to increase lipolysis over a higher carbohydrate diet or a higher protein diet. Lipolysis and breaking down fat tissue is going to be based on your energy needs and demands and the amount of calories that you're getting in within the day. So, if a high-fat diet works for you for your lifestyle, and that's how you like to eat, and you like those fatty foods, and you like the avocados and the nuts and the oils, then great, go for a high-fat diet. But if that's not a sustainable diet for you, and that's not something that you're going to be able to stick with on a regular basis, I encourage you to try a different type of dieting. There are a ton of them out there. You can do intermittent fasting, you can do high carb, there's a huge array of options, right? So we don't want to get stuck on one idea if it might not be something that we can see ourselves doing long term. And of course, we talked about that yesterday. So we want to be very open to doing something new or different that's going to fit our lifestyle and work for us, okay? That is the big thing. Now, what are some of the concerns that we can have with high-fat diets? So obviously, if you have more fat going through your system, your chances for atherosclerosis and plaque buildup are going to be a little bit higher. Now, a lot of people, HDLs rise with that, and so that's why you simple blood work, right? Because that can happen on a low-fat diet too. And so, not a big deal. It just means get your blood work done, go see the doctor, take care of your friggin' health, okay? But Atkins did die of a heart attack. Just gonna throw that one out there. So, as always, is a high-fat diet a good idea? Well, it depends, right? And so everybody responds differently. So for some people, I think high-fat is a great idea. And for some people, even going like keto is a good idea. But is it a good idea for everybody? Absolutely not, okay? So I don't want you to just think about your weight loss goals. I want you to think about long-term health, sustainability, and your own happiness in being able to get it done. But guys, this one I'm going to keep a little bit shorter. I'm going to drop it right there. I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday, guys, and I will talk to you soon. All right.